Huawei held their September event and it was one long one. Rightfully so, because they had a lot to show us, and here is the rundown. The Mate 50 series of smartphone has finally landed and they are as shiny as advertised. Nothing is really out of this world when it comes to the specs of these smartphones, but the highlight features are these. The Mate 50 is coming with a punch hole for the camera, whilst the Mate 50 Pro and the Mate 50 RS will go back to using the notch instead of the pill-shaped cutout that was on the Mate 40 Pro. The Mate 50 Pro and the Mate 50 RS still have face detection and gesture navigation tech that was in the Mate 40 Pro, just baked into the notch. They all will also come equipped with satellite communication tech, allowing them to be able to communicate directly with satellites in space in the event that you find yourself stranded in an area with no mobile network coverage or Wi-Fi. So how it works is that you download and set up this app called Shanglian whilst you're still in an area where network is available. It will then be the terminal that will connect to the Beidou satellites for sending texts via satellite. Unfortunately, communication is only one way, so you cannot receive messages via satellite. And also the service at the moment is only available in mainland China, excluding even Hong Kong, Macau and Taiwan. Then next is the camera side of things. After the P50 series, Huawei officially cut ties with Leica for their camera collaborations and have since introduced Ximage. Essentially, it's their own image processing algorithm that builds up from where they were with Leica, offering just overall better image quality and better low light performance. Speaking of low light performance, remember the Galaxy S9 Plus and its two-stage variable aperture sensor. Well, Huawei has bought the same tech to the Mate 50 and the Mate 50 Pro, only this time it's a 10-stage variable aperture, starting all the way from f1.4 to f4. They claim that in its brightest setting of f1.4, the sensor lets in 24% more light than what the Mate 40 Pro could pull off. Huawei has not been using Gorilla Glass for a while now, even before the US trade ban. All this time we were running with strengthened glass when it came to the type of protection we got on the display. Well, Huawei finally slapped a name to their glass strengthening tech and they're calling it Kunlun Glass. We don't really have data on how it performs versus Corning's Gorilla Glass, but it got a 5-star certification by SGS in Switzerland with a claim that Kunlun Glass is 10 times more resistant to drops. The US trade ban still exists, and as a result the Mate 50 series does not have Google services, but even more so, there is no 5G connectivity and no Kirin processor. In fact, this is the first Mate smartphone range to use an external processor to power it. This time it is a 4G version of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus. The only few drawbacks to the Mate 50 series that will affect its global sales. And as for pricing, the Mate 50 will be going for around $720 and the Mate 50 Pro around $980, whilst the Mate 50 RS Porsche design will start at around $1,870. And then the main event, a car. Just to be clear, Huawei worked with an already existing car company called Celis Automobile to co-create the Aito Wenji M5. Regardless, Huawei's biggest influence on the car was the battery pack, the driver aids and safety technology, and entertainment and the infotainment in the interior, which are pretty big parts of the car if you ask me. And this is not a showpiece for non-car related tech like Sony's concept car unveiled a couple of years ago. It is a car that exists and that you and I can buy if we find a link to China. The car is an EV, just in case anyone was wondering, and it comes in two models, Standard and Performance. The difference being that the Standard is rear-wheel drive only, with a single electric motor pushing out 200 kilowatts of power and 360 Newton meters of torque. The Performance has two electric motors, one front and one rear, making it all-wheel drive with a rear-wheel drive bias. In total, it is pushing out 365 kilowatts of power and a very meaty 675 newton meters of torque. In fact, in the presentation, the performance benchmark they had was a Tesla Model Y when it came to range. The standard version has the best range of the two at an impressive 620 kilometers on a single charge, with the Performance Edition getting 552 kilometers of range from the same 80 kilowatt hour battery. It supports up to 100 kilowatt fast charging that can get the battery from 30% to 80% in just 30 minutes, and a claimed 120 kilometers of range after a 10-minute charge. Performance stats are really impressive. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour takes 7.1 seconds on the standard version with only one motor, and 4.5 seconds on the performance version with two motors. 4.5. For an SUV, that's some crazy performance figures. And on efficiency, they managed to pull off a drag coefficient of 0.266 CD, making it more aerodynamic than the likes of the BMW iX3, the Mercedes-Benz EQC, and the Audi Q5 e-tron. Some premium electric SUVs that it is trying to take a jab at. Now, because they are EVs, they managed to put a storage compartment in the bonnet as well, providing up to 80 liters of bonnet storage space. The back has 369 liters of boot space that can further be extended to 776 liters with the rear seats folded down. The inside of the Ito NGM5 looks very elegant and absolutely premium. There is an extensive use of genuine Napa leather and some open pore wood veneers. It's honestly really good looking inside with a very clean design language, something really similar to what we see in American EVs like the Tesla, the Rivian, and Lucid. Something fresh. The Huawei influence in the interior kicks things off with two 40-watt wireless charging pads and 3 USB-C ports, all supporting 66-watt fast charging for supercharging Huawei smartphones or most laptops that charge via USB-C, essentially allowing you to work in your car. Speaking of working in your car, the 16-inch infotainment system can also be used as a wireless display if you own a Huawei smartphone or tablet or laptop. You can project to it or just extend your display just in case your needs require a lot more screen real estate. The infotainment system is also running on Harmony OS 3, meaning it will seamlessly communicate with all Harmony OS devices Huawei makes. The cool part about it is that the first-party navigation system in the car will be a lot easier to use. The bad part is that it does not look like it will support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Then there is security. So there are 5 ways to get access to the car. There is a normal key that comes with the car, Bluetooth connectivity from your phone, Bluetooth connectivity from your watch, NFC key cards, and the mobile app. On top of that, there is facial recognition built into the A pillar, and this will be used to register multiple driver profiles. So you can set up the car the way you want for the stuff like driving mode, seating position, the contents of the infotainment systems like the buttons, the widgets, climate control, etc. So when you sit on the driver's seat, it will detect your face and set everything in the car up to your preferences. No need to be asking anyone who uses your car to not touch stuff. The facial recognition can also be used for security purposes. It can be set up that if an unrecognized face tries to drive the car, it simply won't move. Another impressive use of this is adjusting the level of the heads-up display on the windscreen depending on where your eyes are gazing. The facial recognition will continuously monitor the position of your eyes and adjust accordingly. There is a camera in the cabin just above the rear view mirror that can be used for in-car video calls. There are also 4 mics in the cabin to ensure good sound pickup of everyone in the car when such calls take place. You can also switch between the inside facing and outside facing cameras during these said video calls, just in case you want to show people the scenery you're driving through, etc. And we cannot forget the sound system now, can we? It's a bespoke Huawei setup with 19 speakers giving a 7.1 channel surround sound, and also 4 of these speakers are in the driver's seat's headrest for calls, navigation, or just a private music session without disrupting everyone else. The amplifier that's running things in this sound system is a 1000 watt system. So, the standard Huawei M5 EV is going for around 288,600 yuan, or which translates to around 41,500 US dollars, whilst the performance model will be going for 319,800 yuan, or again around 46,000 US dollars. On paper, the Huawei M5 EV seems to be one heck of a deal. It's definitely got some serious performance, it's very good looking inside and out, and it's running on some class-leading tech features, all whilst still being cheaper than the competition. The only problem is there does not seem to have a global release for it yet, so if you need one, you may have to go pick it up from China. And also, there is no guarantee that there will be an English language option for all the buttons and screens in the car.